you? Good, good. It's Sunday. I just got a Sunday reset and I need to go grocery shopping. Going grocery shopping on a Sunday is something that I try to avoid, but that's just the way it ended up this week for some reason. It never does. It usually ends up that I need to go shop on a Tuesday. Anyway, I am only gonna get a few things though because I'm currently on my period and I feel like every time I'm craving something on my period, like 3 days later, I don't want it. So I'm currently craving chicken teriyaki bowls. Random, I know, but I'm gonna go get stuff to make that for the next 3 days and that'll be perfect because after that I'm not gonna want it. I'm also gonna go to a different grocery store. There's a Harris Teeter like so close to me, walking distance, and I always end up going to Publix anyway because my loyalty to Publix needs to be studied. Like Publix could have a scandal, they could say something's wrong with all the meat at Publix and I'm probably still gonna go to Publix. I don't know what is my loyalty to Publix. Like I would go and maybe not get meat, I'll go and still just go to the bakery or something. I don't know, but I'm gonna try Harris Teeter today because I got one of the shopper card things and they have great deals there and it's closer and I could walk there and get my steps in. So I hope I like that grocery store more so I can break my loyalty to Publix. And I'm also just gonna do other things that you do on a Sunday reset, clean up around. I mean, my apartment's not that much of a mess. I gotta do laundry, change my sheets. I wanna bake something, but not like bake, like half bake. You know when you get those mixed things where you're like, add an egg.
The way that I said add an egg here, the foreshadowing is crazy. And this isn't gonna make sense until you get to the end of the video. But that's insane.
Yeah, I wanna do that. We'll see what we find at the store. This milk, so delicious, dairy-free organic coconut and sweetened original coconut milk. I used to have this a lot in my matcha and it used to taste so good. It just blends so well with matcha. And now when I put it in my coffee, it tastes like I'm adding water to my coffee. It's so bad. I have been feeling really weird about dairy-free milk. Dairy-free milk? Alternatives. Milk alternatives. I've just been weird about them lately. Like they've been tasting like water to me. And it kind of makes me want to just try getting regular milk. But like, is that smart? I feel like I need to test myself. Like, I didn't react to milk well when I was younger. What if I grew out of it? I don't know what it is though. Like I don't react well to ice cream, but I can eat a lot of cheese. I could eat cheese for breakfast, lunch, and dinner and be fine. So I don't know. This tastes like water. Almond milk is kind of watery too. But I've been looking into, there's like lactose-free milk. Like it's milk but without the lactose. And I don't really know what that means. Anyway, I also like oat milk, but I think it affects my skin. Like a lot of people say that and I wasn't sure if I was one of those people, but I think I am. So I stopped getting it, but it's so good. That's like the creamiest milk alternative there is that isn't just like water. Going to the deli is low-key like me just testing my own patience. Like the meats and the cheeses deli, there's always like pre-packaged cheeses and like cold cuts and stuff, but they always have too much. Like I don't need half pound of cheese. They never have quarter pound and then I have to stand in line and wait. And that process is always so slow. And at this grocery store, Harris Teeter, they actually like subtract all the packaging from your overall thing. That's great, you're getting more for your money, but it takes so long. Like most of my time at the grocery store just now was just at the Cold Cuts Deli. This is what I got to bake, this cinnamon swirl crumb cake and muffin mix. I felt like this was really easy. It's just water, vegetable oil, and 1 egg. And you put it in an 8x8 inch pan, and that's literally the size of my pan. They had this pumpkin loaf thing, but it was from this brand that's like more of a healthier brand. And I don't like my baked goods healthy. So yeah, I'll make that later. I also just got oat milk, so I hope it doesn't affect me too much. Oat milk is just known to be not good for you, but it's just the best tasting milk alternative. I was literally standing there trying to figure out what to get, and I'm just like, all of this looks awful, and I just know almond milk right now, too watery, coconut milk, gross, so let's hope I'm okay. Bought myself matcha in so long. I think since like earlier in the summer, because I watched this one person talking about how drinking matcha can affect the absorption of your vitamins and also iron, and I never took that very seriously, like lack of iron, because I'm just like, it's been going on for so long. I'm always tired. That's what lack of iron does. And I'm just like, yeah, whatever, it's life. But this one person was explaining it in such a way that kind of scared me. Basically, she explained it, and one of the points she made was that there was no oxygen in my brain if I'm lacking iron. There isn't enough oxygen in my brain or something like that. She said something of that sort, and I don't even know how accurate that is, but it did scare me. And sometimes I do need to be scared to take things seriously. And so I stopped buying myself matcha, but that led me to start drinking coffee. And it does the same thing, basically like caffeine. But because I was scared anyway, I started doing research, and it just says that I need to wait at least 2 hours after eating and taking my vitamins, which has been harder than you would think. I mean, maybe if you're not addicted to caffeine like I am, but yeah, I've been doing that 2 hours after I eat. And now I can finally have matcha again. Let's make a matcha for the first time in forever. If anyone was wondering, it's perfect. Pinch of salt, 1 teaspoon of maple syrup. That's how I do my coffee as well, and it's really good in matcha. Anyway, I'm reading Time of Your Life by Jessa Hastings. I, for some reason, had no idea all of Jessa Hastings' books were on Kindle Unlimited, except for the Magnolia Park series. And I don't know, like at this point in time where nothing on my TBR is really calling to me, my physical TBR anyway. So I've been looking at a lot of Kindle Unlimited books, and I found a few that I'm interested in, including this one. I've been wanting to read this. I kind of forgot that it existed for a while, but I was also not reading it right away because a lot of people said it was kind of similar to The Conditions of Will, and I wasn't shocked by that. And I don't think it's similar, like the plot and what these people do for a living and all of that. I don't think it's similar in that way, but all of her characters, all the characters that she writes, that part is very similar. And I didn't expect anything different from this book. Like, it happened with The Conditions of Will. I saw similarities in those main characters to the Magnolia Park's main characters. And here in Time of Your Life, I feel like I'm reading about Magnolia and Julian, and it's so funny that I feel like she writes Julian into her other characters so much, yet she hates Julian. I don't get it. I don't get it. I remember in The Conditions of Will, like her first love or whatever, I don't remember his name, but whoever her first love was in that book, he reminded me so much of Julian, and now this male main character reminds me of Julian. But I am having a great time because I love Julian hates. I feel like I can't even really say what this book is about because I didn't read the description. I just kind of went into it. All I know is that she's a model. He is the lead of a band, and they're both really famous. Like, they're both the best in what they do. It's really insta love. I feel like that's her thing as well. Very in love with each other straight away, and she's the only author I can read insta love for because that's usually a really annoying trope, and I'm just like, I don't get it. Why are you so obsessed with each other? But for some reason she makes it make sense. I don't know if I just said this, but it's set in 1995, and the only thing about that is, like, that's cool and all, like, cool setting in my head, but I also just don't really feel that vibe with how they speak. I don't remember exactly what it was. I should have highlighted it, but there was a part and I was just like, this is 1995? Are you sure? They just don't really give me that vibe. Like, this, the way that they're talking, it could easily be 2025. But that's okay. Whatever. I will still picture the 90s in my head because I think that is a pretty cool setting. Harley Parks was mentioned, and I was like excited because crossover from Magnolia Parks, but then I remember everything Harley Parks has done, and I was just like, get him away from me. Her last name, I just need to talk about this because it makes no sense to me. It's one of those books that have like a pronunciation guide and also a word guide because they're the main character, the guy, he's from Manchester, and so there are these words that I've just never heard of, but some of them I do know. Her first name is spelled Y-S-O-L-D-E, pronounced Isolde. That's not too crazy, right? Weird, but like fine. Her last name, on the other hand, it's spelled F-E-A-T-H-E-R. That's feather, right? That's feather. I swear that's feather, okay? But then it goes on, S-T-O-N, stun, Featherston. That's what I'm thinking. Like, I'm trying to walk myself through this last name, and then it continues on. Wait, what just happened? Yeah, it continues on, H-A-U-G-H, and that's where you lose me. And I'm like, how do I put this all together? She said it's pronounced Fanshawe. You needed all those letters for Fanshawe? I feel like at some point, you're just trying too hard to be different. That could actually be a real name and I wouldn't even know. Maybe I should look that up. Sorry if I'm offending anyone with the last name Fanshawe. So that's a real last name. I'm so sorry to the Fanshaws of the world. But I will stand on it. Your ancestors were trying too hard to be different. Anyway, I'm on page 42, chapter 4. At the end of each chapter, there are these like gossip articles, which I find really fun. I don't know, I think that's really interesting. I think Jess Hastings has really figured out her recipe. I love when an author has a recipe. Like Emily Henry has a recipe, Abby Jimenez has a recipe, and I don't mind that. I think some people get really annoyed when books are too similar. I think with these I kind of understand it more though, because all of the characters are kind of blending. I don't mind. I love that she writes about rich people drama. Love that. And I feel like sometimes you should just stick to what you do best. I feel like Emily Henry this year, with Great Big Beautiful Life, she kind of stepped out of her comfort zone a little bit, and they hated her for it. I loved that book though. I think the best authors are people who can write books and it's like different each time, but you can still feel like it's their writing. And I think someone who does this well is Sally Rooney. All of her characters feel very different to me, but when I'm reading her books, like it takes me to a certain place. Like I just know her writing so well. I kind of feel like Kristen Hanna also does that well. Like I don't find her books blending together and her characters blending together, but I also kind of see like she has her own recipe. And the main ingredient of her recipe is sadness. I'm about to make this and I just know I'm gonna have to mix it in a huge pot because I don't have a bowl big enough. My mixing bowl of the day. I don't know why I'm reading this so hard. Like it's really not that difficult. You just mix this together, make sure to put half of that in the center. Like it's really not that deep. But I get worried that I would even mess up the simplest things. I was watching Maya's most recent video and she was talking about a bunch of things. She was mostly talking about like the effects of AI, like her wanting to learn about that. And while she was talking about that, she also mentioned how Substack is on the rise, and I had no idea that Substack was on the rise. I literally only know what Substack is because one of my friends in New York had a blog. Is that what you call it? I don't know. She has one. She writes. And so she told me to join it so I could support her and read her thoughts. And honestly, I like Substack. I recently read this article. The author named it "Dump Your Matcha and Have a Cigarette, Bitch," or something like that. And it was really interesting because I would never do either of those things. I love my matcha and I will never ever smoke a cigarette. But the idea of the article was that we focus so much on like modern day healthy habits and sometimes it's not as healthy. Instead of needing to fix your diet or to exercise more, maybe you just need a long walk in nature, and that is exercise, but it's more so about like clearing your head. And sometimes you need community, or sometimes you need to go swimming or something, like being outside, being in nature, getting sun. That is probably the health benefits that we're lacking lately, but we're so focused on so many other things. And I think like one of the reasons the title is "Dump Your Matcha" is because matcha is like this new thing that everyone swears has all these health benefits, and I have no idea about that. That's not why I drink matcha. I just drink matcha because I like the taste of it. I feel energized in a different way when I have matcha versus coffee. I crash easier with coffee. that's basically why I like matcha. But yeah, the whole point was just sometimes you need to go out and live. Like, she was in Greece at the time watching people have a cigarette at the beach, and they were having a conversation, laughing with their friends, and it's just like being outdoors and seeing people swim. So I think that's where the cigarette part comes from, but like, I don't think she means it literally. Don't smoke cigarettes. But anyway, yeah, I'm just glad that that kind of reminded me of Substack, because I feel like I remember it exists sometimes, and I go through a phase where I read a lot of them and then I forget about it. But that one that I read, I remember after reading it, I wrote in my journal like 5 pages on how I felt about that topic. And then there was another one that I read about how social media has this like idea of how we don't owe people anything and protect your peace, and it's almost like going too far. Like, it's turning what's meant to be a good thing into a bad thing. Like, you're meant to be healing and protecting your peace and whatever, and all that is supposed to be great, but if you do that too much, you end up isolated, and there's some level of discomfort that you should feel, and you should have those conversations with your family or friends. You shouldn't just cut people off and like, I'm protecting my peace. And I just needed to hear that at the time, honestly. Common sense for a lot of people, and it's not that it's not common sense for me. It's just, sorry, the oven's done. It's just sometimes I don't think about it, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just protecting my peace, but like, no, you should go have those uncomfortable conversations. Anyway. Hardest thing was getting the sugar even, sprinkled evenly, and I literally lost so much sugar to my hands, and I just washed it all off. Into the bookstore today. I kind of just wanted to see what they had going on in there, because the last time I was in a bookstore, I literally had to go look at receipts to see when was the last time I was in a bookstore, and it was June 25th. It's now the end of October. This is like crazy for me. At first, I didn't put myself on a book buying ban, but then when I saw how little I was reading, I was like, there's no way I should be buying more books when I'm not even reading the books that I own. It makes no sense. And I also was at a point where I thought I would never read again, which is so dramatic. But yeah, I did officially put myself on a book buying ban. And I'm at the point now where I'm just like seeing how long I can go without buying books. I feel like it'll end in November though, because I do want to eventually get some fall reads. I feel like everyone's talking about that book. I like something. I'm not even gonna try to remember what it's called, but I know it's by the author Julie Olivia, which feels like a pen name. Or maybe it's like her first and her middle name. Obviously her last name's not Olivia, right? Maybe I should stop speaking on people's last names. What is my issue? Anyway, so you know how I baked this afternoon? I literally only had a little taste of it, and then I just left it there to cool, had dinner and everything because it was in the afternoon, and I knew I was gonna have it more for dessert after I had my dinner. And so when I was cleaning up, I saw the box on the counter, and I decided to just look at it. I don't know why I decided to look at it, and I realized as I look at it, I forgot to put an egg in the mix. I had one job. It was 3 steps. Actually, it was technically 1 step, but it was just like to add 3 ingredients: water, oil, and 1 egg. I forgot to add the egg. It was just water, oil, and cake batter. I did realize this after I had a whole piece though. So if I wake up violently sick tomorrow, I'll let you know. But I did look it up and it said that I'll be fine. Like honestly, I could barely tell. The cake is flat. It's definitely flat, and I learned that the egg is a rising ingredient and also a binding ingredient, but it shouldn't make me ill. It just makes the cake flop, which it definitely did. Flop in the sense of like how it looked. It didn't taste bad. I don't think I should eat the whole thing though. Even if I don't get sick, I don't think I should eat the entire thing, but maybe I'll eat half of it. It is good. I don't know. I got distracted because I was talking. This is why I don't multitask. But anyway, yeah, that's that. I'm gonna just read my book to fall asleep. I love how easily they fall in love in Jess Hastings' world and her mind. I don't love that in any other books, but something about here, it's just like, I want this to happen to me. She asked, do you like him? And then what the other person replies, she doesn't know him. And she goes, well, not biblically. What? It's always so funny to read books about people, I guess, from the UK. It's a different world over there. I feel like I go into Jess Hastings books expecting a 5-star read every time because that's just what it's been so far, but I don't feel like this is going to be one, honestly. Like, I'm enjoying it, it just isn't as good as the other ones that I've read, which is just the Magnolia Park series and the Conditions of Will. I never read, never. But yeah, maybe this is gonna be the first Jess Hastings book that I read that isn't 5 stars. Forget everything I said about this man reminding me of Julian. Forget all of that. He could never, Julian would never. Oh my god, it's like Jess Hastings is competing with herself for who can write the worst male characters ever. I know people have frustrations with Magnolia as well, like they don't like her either. I've always loved Magnolia and I've always had such a soft spot for her, but this female main character, Isolde, if that's how you pronounce it, I started out loving her, and then at some point it's like, you can't blame the daddy issues on every stupid excuse. Not that she's doing that, it's just I was like keeping that in the back of my mind, like she has daddy issues and she just has family and parent issues. But at some point, the stupid things that she's doing, like, she's not the enemy here though. The real enemy is Joa. Oh my god. I really can't believe I ever compared him to Julian. Like, please, no. I really started to have fun reading this because it was reminding me of reading a fanfic, and I know a lot of people would like compare books to fan fiction as an insult and be like, it's so Wattpad, but like, I'm doing that not as an insult. I was having fun. Obviously, it's about a guy in a band. He's the lead of this really famous British band, but not like boy band, like regular band. And it just reminded me so much of like One Direction fan fictions, because I feel like in One Direction fan fictions, they weren't like a boy band. They were just a regular band. Anyway, and like they would play instruments and stuff. You know, that's kind of how I differentiate from a boy band and a regular band. Anyway, I loved reading those in high school. It was always fun, and like the main character, well, the ones I read anyway, usually Harry Styles, and then like Zayd and Niall, they were other supporting characters, and they would always have their roles. You know, Zayn's the bad boy and Al's his best friend. If you're in a love triangle, it's gonna be with Harry and Zayn, or maybe that's just the ones that I read. I'm telling on myself here. But anyway, it kind of took me back to a time where I enjoyed reading that, and it was just like in a funny way. And I was thinking, like, do other male celebrities have fan fictions? Like, I know Justin Bieber, I've never had a Justin Bieber phase, never will, but he was, and still is, huge. Does he have fan fictions? Did Justin Bieber fans write and read fan fictions? Because in my head, like, fan fictions, the way that it is in the One Direction fandom, it's a huge thing. It's almost like you can't escape it. I mean, one of them is quite literally published, and I feel like some people don't even know that the whole After series started out as One Direction fan fiction, but we don't talk about that. Anyway, it was kind of just giving me this kind of nostalgic feeling in a good way. Like, I wasn't cringing or anything. It was good. It was good. There was like this one scene where he was performing and like he dedicated a song to her. I'm like, it's like my One Direction fan fiction. There are also so many moments throughout this book that's just so funny. Like, they're actually funny people. And I think Jessa Hastings does a good job at like having the characters be really funny and witty, but then they're also just horrible and they go through horrible things too, and it's like balance. We love balance. I feel like they're kind of funnier than the characters in Magnolia Parks. I kind of feel bad for how every time I read a book by Jess Hastings, I have to compare it to the whole Magnolia Parks series, and I mean, I feel like she set that system up. I feel like it's not my fault when you're in the same world, and they are in the same world, by the way. It's just earlier years, because this is when Harley Parks was younger. That's Magnolia's father. And so when you're in the same universe, it's so easy to compare it. And when there's so many similarities, yeah, it's just easy to compare. There was this part where Isolde's realizing she doesn't really know that much about Joa, and she's like, maybe he has a girlfriend and I'm the terrible mistress. And her friend goes, if it's any consolation, I think I'd kill myself if you were my boyfriend's mistress. And I couldn't stop dying at that. Like, what? Also on page 119, he met her father and they were talking about something, and she's like, well, he's very rich, and he cuts in, with a name like effing Fanshawe, spell how you twats effing spell it, you don't say. I feel vindicated, because who spells things like that? I really did love the friendship dynamics in this though, and I feel like that's something that's always fun in Jess Hastings' books as well, even though she kind of writes friendships that are codependent and probably not the healthiest, but like reading about it, it's fun. They clearly love each other very much. And other characters from her past, ex-boyfriends, they show up, really interesting. I really like one of her ex-boyfriends, who's now kind of just her friend. His name is Fletcher. I love him. Like, just be with him. But also, I get it. Joa's brother as well, she's kind of become friends with him, and I love that dynamic, and I can't wait to see where that goes in the next book. Speaking of the next book, this ends off on a cliffhanger, and it's so crazy that during the summer, I think someone was raving about this book, and I asked them, like, I just commented randomly, asked them, does this like end on a cliffhanger? Am I gonna be dying for the next book? And I'm not like dying for the next book, but it definitely ends on a cliffhanger. And I remember that person told me no cliffhanger. I was like, what? It definitely left me hanging, and I think the only reason I'm not like dying to read the next book is because I don't like Joa, and I know they're gonna go in circles 500 more times before they figure it out, because that's just how they do things in this world. But I kind of do want to know what happens next. I remember I mentioned that it's set in 1995, and the only thing that really shows that it's set in 1995 is like the way she talks about cell phones. She talks about how huge they are. And it's just seriously the only reoccurring thing that reminds me that it's 1995. I read this entire book and I kept forgetting, and then she would talk about how she hates like mobile phones. She doesn't even call it a cell phone. She says she hates mobile phones, and she talks about how huge they are and whatever, and it can't fit in her purse. But something about that's just not really realistic. Well, I don't think it's realistic anyway, is that back in the day, when the first phone ever came out or whatever, when you got a phone for the first time, you're not thinking about the fact that it's too big, or how can this be smaller? How can I put this in my purse? Because you don't know that in the future it'll become smaller. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes any sense. But like, obviously, it's like when you had a desktop in your home as a child and you did your homework on your desktop or whatever, who was thinking like, I wish this could fold and I could put it in my tote bag? No one was actually thinking that, other than like the innovators, you know? Like, we were just vibing because it's what we had. It's not natural for the average person. But anyway, she was like that. She kept saying she wished the phone was smaller because she must have looked into the future and saw iPhones. And that's like the only thing that like snapped me into the fact that it was 1995. Other than that, she didn't really write 1995 that well. Nothing gave me that feeling, nothing gave me that vibe. Honestly, I think she would have been better off if this was like maybe early 2000s. I could feel that more, but definitely didn't feel like the 90s. I mean, how would I know I wasn't there? Like, you know, when you read a book in the 90s, it has a different vibe. Okay, it feels like the olden days. My conclusions is that it was messy as ever. Probably, is it one of Jess's messiest books? I don't even know how to rate that or rank that anymore, because Jess just writes all messy books, messy characters. And this was no different. There was different guys involved apart from the main guy, which is great because this main guy actually needs to go. Like, he gotta go. I need to just date one of the other guys because they're cool. I love them. I actually love everyone except Joa, which is, oh my god, the nickname Trouble. He calls her Trouble in this book. I'm even realizing that I love that nickname. The first time I ever read it was literally this year in Problematic Summer Romance. He called her Trouble, and ever since then, I think I read like 2 more books where they call the girl Trouble, and then there's this one. I don't know why, I like that nickname. It's fun, because they usually are trouble. It's usually meant for a female main character that's like witty and funny and kind of snarky a little bit. The nickname comes with a specific dynamic that I enjoy, and I love it, overall love it. I will stick with the fact that I don't think this is 5 stars, but it definitely did get a lot better since I started it. As usual, she gets me every time. I start feeling so many things, and just some of the quotes and everything. This is definitely not her best writing though, I will say that. I just really was entertained as usual. I love drama, I love rich people drama. Then you throw in musicians and I felt like I was reading fan fiction in a good way. And so yeah, I think this would be 4.25 stars. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and if you got to the end of this video, comment any music emoji for Joa, even though we hate him. Like and subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!